Welcome to the Game Changers Podcast, your connection to the world's most powerful influencers in leadership, personal development, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, professional athlete, author, speaker, and game changer himself, Rennie Curran. It's time to get your head in the game.
Man, thank you so much for joining me on the Game Changer Podcast. My name is Rennie Curran. I am a former professional athlete, speaker, author, life and business coach. So most of all, I'm a game changer. It's been a little while since I've been on the show. I've had so many amazing things going on. None more important than the launch of my children's book that I did with my daughter, my beautiful daughter, Aaliyah Curran. She's 8 years old, attends Spalding Drive Elementary School. And we recently launched our first children's book. It's entitled, What Does It Take to Be a Star? What does it take to be a star? And a lot of the inspiration for that book came from just my upbringing and what I experienced as a child. Just that curiosity that I had to chase my own personal greatness, to become something special in life. And I realized that going through that moment where my mind and my brain and all that were still in formation, I had so many influences that came to me in terms of what I watched on TV, in terms of the games that I played, in terms of the people who I had around me. And so a lot of this book really is derived from that and from my experiences as a speaker. You know, so many times I go out and young kids will see me and they'll ask me, how did you get to become an athlete? And it's usually followed up by, how much money do you have? What kind of car do you drive? Things like that are really just about the surface perception of success. And with this book, I really wanted to use that curiosity that a child has to teach character values. The book starts off with basically a young boy who's curious about what it takes to be a star. And so he decides, I'm going to go on this adventure. I'm going to visit all the people who I look up to. And so he does that. He goes and he visits an athlete, and he visits a singer, and he visits a doctor, and so on and so forth. And he asks each one of them, what does it take to be a star? And instead of them giving him something that relates to the surface level of what success is, the fame and the glory and all those things, they give him something that's a character value, something that's beneath the surface of success. When you look at somebody, it's something that you wouldn't necessarily think would mean success. And that's what I think is the most important thing. Not necessarily what your title is or how much money you make, but who you are as a person, the inner fabrics of who you are. I think that's the most important thing. And so that's what I wanted to teach in this book was, really number one, empowerment in terms of instilling those values like work ethic and discipline and confidence and perseverance and all the things that make you great, I feel like, and add substance to your life. And then the next thing was instilling the importance of mentorship. Throughout the whole entire book, that's really what it is. Just he's this young kid who's going to visit different people, different mentors, and they're all pouring back into him. And I really wanted to have that dynamic just to show the importance of, when you do make it and you do get this title and you do have this level of success, that you turn around and that you pour into that next generation and that you find pride in it. And don't get to this point where you feel like you've arrived and you can't, look back and give back. And, I think all of us who were able to live our dreams understand that we were once that young kid, that we were once somebody who was asking questions, who was wondering, what does it take to get there? What does it take to be a star? The last thing that I tried to put emphasis on in this book was just the diversity piece. And I feel like that's huge because that's another thing I thought about as a child was the fact that when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of books where I could pick it up and I could actually relate to the characters in the book. I mean, I think there were a few out there, but nothing where I can identify with the characters' experiences or, who they were, their appearance or anything like that. So I really wanted to make sure that with each character in the book that I make it diverse enough to where if it's a girl or a young boy from any background, that they can identify with at least one person from the book, because I think that's so important, especially in terms of what you see or visualize as success. If what you see as success, you can't really identify with, chances are you're not really going to see yourself as a successful person, especially as a young child. You're going to find it in other things. You're going to find your fulfillment or find your success or find um, your identity in other characters who may not represent those characters that you want or those character values that you want. So I thought that it was so important that we had our first kickoff event August 3rd. It was a major success. I mean, thank you so much to everybody who was able to come out and share that experience with us. We had a lot of fun. We had Justin Felder and Winter Avery who hosted the event, and we had a great turnout from, I mean, anywhere from my fifth grade teachers from when I was growing up to coaches to a lot of my family members, of course, came, friends came. So many great people were there. And besides just having the book launch, we also honored a few kids in the community who were doing some great things. One of them who we're going to be interviewing on this show today by the name of Aaliyah Rucker. She actually won the award for Community Star for her work that she does with her nonprofit, which you'll hear about later on in the show. Another kid we honored was a child who was just hit with adversity, adversity that we all face in life. And he had actually lost his father through a senseless murder. And instead of him getting angry at the world and instead of him feeling like everybody was against him or like, everybody owes him something, he just continues to be a great kid and continues to, be a leader and continue to have an impact on people. And I really was touched by his story, and I felt the need to just honor him, along with Aliyah, and I want to really continue doing this event. I think it's so needed because there's so many programs out there for the at-risk kids and the kids who aren't doing the right thing necessarily. But I feel like the kids who are doing the right thing, they're not put up on a platform and recognized enough. So I really wanted to do it. And if you haven't gotten a copy of the book yet, you can get a copy right off my website. It's renniecurran.com. And I hope it really blesses you. Hope it blesses your children. And I wrote it straight from the heart. And I'm excited to start doing the school visits. So that's another thing. If you are a teacher, a principal, somebody in a leadership position within the school system, I'd love to come out to your schools. I'd love to do a book reading or just come out and do a literacy night and have fun and make reading and literacy the cool thing to do. So, yeah, thank you once again to my sponsors. Had some great sponsors. The event never would have happened without you guys. And without any further ado, I will go ahead and get on with this interview. So I hope you guys enjoy it. We got two young guests who are doing some great things in the community. And I think you're going to learn a lot from them. So thank you once again for listening to the Game Changer podcast. And here it is. So I want to take the opportunity to welcome my next guest to the Game Changer podcast. And we have an amazing group of individuals. This is the first time we're going to have two guests, two powerful game changers on the show. The first guest is none other than Aaliyah Rucker, a 14-year-old from Atlanta, Georgia, who is the owner of A Touch of Warmth Foundation. A Touch of Warmth, a 501c3 whose mission it is to deliver blankets to group homes, children, women's shelters, nursing homes, and so many other places. So she's definitely a game changer and a leader and an influencer. The next guest is Miles Jackson, who's 13 years old. So these individuals are young, which lets me know that, and others out there, that there's no excuse for not being a leader, not using your platform for greatness. But Miles is the founder and spokesperson for the Books for Miles Foundation. And he's also a youth leader and a game changer as well in his community. But he's worked with organizations such as the Atlanta Mission, NFL Youth Township, and many other organizations just delivering books. And so I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the show. Aliyah and Miles, how y'all doing?
Great. Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you guys on. And, we're going to just go rapid fire. And of course, it's going to be ladies first. So I just wanted to to know just what inspired you all to get into what you're doing now as far as your platforms and your foundations?
Okay, well, I was actually 4 years old when I started A Touch of Warmth. And my mom and I were just cleaning out the closet, and we started giving stuff away like toys, clothes, shoes, things of that nature. And after I found out that not everybody in the world had a blanket to sleep with, much less clothes, food, or even a family. And I thought to myself, if I can't sleep without a blanket, why is someone that doesn't have a home or a nice, comfortable place to sleep at night, then why can't they have a blanket too? So, and about a week later, I brought my mom my piggy bank, and I asked her if that would be enough money to buy everyone in the world a blanket. And of course, she said no, but we would find a way to help others out and give back to the community. So we asked friends and family to donate blankets, and our very first blanket donation was 168 blankets.
Wow.
And ever since then, thank you. And ever since then, we have collected and distributed over 12,000.
Wow. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is awesome. Miles, what's inspired you as far as your foundation?
Okay, so it all started when I was around 3. My parents told me that not every kid in the world had books to read, and I was getting read to every night. So it was kind of I guess I felt a little bit of compassion for the kids who really didn't have that magic in their lives. Like every time I went to bed with the thought of Thomas the Train or some other fictional character that just really helped me dream. So the thought of these kids not being able to have that experience, it was just haunting for me.
Yeah.
So I decided to kind of go through the bookshelf, everything that I really didn't read anymore. We took that. It started as a kind of a movement in my community, and then it built as family and friends started donating. Then they started telling people, and it turned into a snowball effect. So now we are where we are now. I've donated over 8,000 books to homeless shelters, after-school programs, places with kids who just need to read.
Man, that's amazing. And as you guys were speaking, I just, because of your age, like I just think of so many people who say, like, I have to have this degree or have to get a PhD or have to get at this point in my life before I do this. And you guys just, number one, what stuck out to me, you had compassion. Like you thought of somebody else. Because of how you were blessed, you thought of blessing somebody else. And so I want to commend you guys just for doing that. And
Thanks.
oh yeah, definitely. And I know as good as your foundations are, like you haven't done it by yourself. And one of the biggest things I know about being a game changer is that you have a team behind you. So I'd love to hear about just some of the people who, it's like your team, basically, the people who inspired you to get into this.
Well, for me, it all started with mom and dad, because where it starts with them all the time. So, I mean, it just took because one of their mottos that they kind of instilled in me is always do God's work.
Yeah.
So I decided to, follow that, and God told me to give, so I gave, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually that impact grows to the same size.
Wow. That's awesome, man. And then for you, Aliyah, who's part of your team? I know, of course, mom and dad, but yeah.
Yes, definitely my mom, for sure, 100%. She's been there always since day one and supportive and has never left my side no matter what. And my mentors, they're just so giving into pouring themselves into others, including myself. And it's just a blessing to see how many people are behind my back and support me no matter what. And I'll always know that they'll be there. And also, Miles' parents, they're very supportive too. Wow. And I would not be here without any of those people. So
that's good stuff. Yeah. So, man, so you guys actually collaborate and do some work together at times?
Yes, sir. We are actually starting an event called Nods of One Glow in the Dark Bike Ride.
Wow. It'll be on Earth Day of next year, 2018. Okay. He's very stingy about that. So, it'll be on April 22nd of next year, it's basically going to be a glow-in-the-dark bike ride. We're going to be having multiple activities for those who don't really want to ride, because I know that there are some people who would just rather have fun instead of get on the bikes and ride the whole 3.5 miles. We have glow-in-the-dark ring toss, glow-in-the-dark everything pretty much.
Kickball, bubbles. Okay. We have kickball, bubbles, hula hoop, like every activity that you can imagine that glows in the dark.
Nice. That sounds like field day back in the day. I might have to come out for that. That's good stuff.
And the purpose is to spread change in the community one person at a time, and bring awareness.
Activism as well. Because there are a lot of kids who like to stay inside and play video games and never really have that experience of just going outside and just experiencing that. The fact that being outside can be fun. Being outside doesn't have to be bugs and dirt all the time. It can be, it can be actually entertaining. And I know for, I guess, adults, it was a whole lot easier to go outside because that was really all you guys had to do. So, I mean, we wanted to kind of give that experience back to the kids now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing to hear you guys just talk about taking little small ideas. It's not like you trying to take over the whole world. You just, like for you, Aliyah, you said people don't have no blankets, so you just, acted on it. And for you, Miles, you just said, I got books. Somebody else doesn't have a book, and you just, move forward with it. And now you're doing that event as well. Just a simple idea. And I think that's a major point for people to understand is when it comes to being an influencer or being a leader, like you don't have to do this massive thing and feel like you have to put the world on your shoulders. It's just like small, simple acts. Right. So yeah, that's a great point that you guys made. And one question I have for you guys, anybody can feel free to answer, but what was one game-changing moment that you had where it's just like that light bulb clicked on and maybe you saw the true impact of what you're doing?
For me, it was probably after that first book drive that kind of got to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't even think that just giving a kid a book could make such a big impact, but we had families laughing, crying, even, like, knowing that I can finally teach my kid to read, and for those who really didn't know, I can actually teach myself as well. So I felt like that was a learning experience for me and the families that I helped, because not only did they get to give themselves an education, I got to educate myself in giving, knowing how to move forward.
Yeah. That's good stuff. What about you, Aliyah? What was that game-changing moment?
It was actually our very first blanket donation, and we left the homeless shelter. And I got in the car, and it was myself, my mom, and my aunt. And I told my mom, did you see the smiles on all those kids' faces? And she was like, yeah, that was pretty cool, And then I said, can we do that again? Or when can we do that again? And it was just, I thought to myself, like, I never knew how much a blanket can make such a huge difference. Just one warm, comforting blanket. And it's just so wonderful, comforting, and nice to know that I can help the world one blanket at a time.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. And I know with that being said, like there's so many people that you inspire. So some of your friends, like I'd love to hear just because I know for you, Miles, like you promote youth leadership. So I'd love to just hear about some of the things that you've been able to just communicate to your friends and some of the inspiration that you've been able to drive to them, because a lot of young kids don't act on things such as this, such as volunteering and giving back.
Right. There's a lot of teens that don't have a voice, but do good things in the community, but don't know how to get it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was kind of just getting them to come out there with me, like to put their foot in the water and see just how it feels to give. some people kept going, some people kind of fell off, but at the same time, the more people you can affect,
Yeah.
I guess you have to pay it forward in the end. Because, like, if you can touch three people, they would touch three more, they would touch three more. It's really just expanding on what you've built.
Yeah.
So the foundation that I built in my friends is what I've been able to build off of this entire time.
Mm. That's a great point, man. And that makes me think about just so many leaders throughout history. You know, it's like who inspired Martin Luther King to do what he did. You know, somebody had to have inspired him. So I think when we take actions and for what you all are doing, it's like even for you spreading books, Miles, and for you giving somebody a blanket, Aliyah, like you don't know how that person will be affected or changed to be able
Right.
to affect it because they could be the one to affect millions through what you guys are doing. And it's just something that's very powerful to think about. It's not just your simple act, but how basically you're planting a seed and you don't know what it will become. So I definitely commend you guys for what you do. Um, and just for my next question, I know everything isn't just sunshine and rosy. I know with being
This
with
is very true.
yeah, with y'all being your age, like I know you want to have fun. I know you want to hang out with friends a lot, and then sometimes you got to go and give. So I love to hear about some of the challenges that you guys face with being the owners of your own foundations.
um, def oh, oh. Definitely being told no.
Mm,
When I got my first no, I was devastated. Like, why won't they tell me yes and donate to a touch of warmth? But then as
hmm
I grew as a CEO or as even a person, then I realized that the world won't be sunshine and rainbows 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So I began to say to myself every day that if they say no, just encourage them to do better in the community or do good in the community. And
Yeah.
then they'll touch more people, and then maybe those people can donate. And
hmm
it's just knowing my boundaries and my weaknesses and strengths, and
Mm,
being a person, a CEO, and a business owner. So,
that's good stuff.
yeah.
There was a quote my dad taught me when I was 3. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy.
Hmm
Martin Luther King actually said that, and
Yep.
it came up a lot in my business career. I mean, like Leah said, I've been told no before, and I mean, when you're giving to these families, we just have to accept the fact that some really don't know how to handle it because they've never been treated in such a
hmm
comforting way before, so they don't know how to approach that. So it all comes down to patience, and in those times of challenge and controversy, you have to be able to come up out of that slump and move forward with your movement. You can't just let one no pull you all the way down. You
Yep.
know.
Yeah, no, you guys gave great feedback. I mean, I love what you said, Aaliyah, just about the conversation that you have with yourself. I mean, I think that's so powerful. Just after you hear no, how do you respond? You know, how do you, what's your self
Right.
talk? What's your self talk like? And that plays such a major part, no matter what you do in success. I mean, I think about my days on the football field, just after there's a bad play, it's like, do you talk yourself down or do you say, all right, next play, let's get back to work?
Mhm.
And then for you, Miles, just being able to same thing, just bounce back and keep moving forward and applying it to other areas of life. I mean, this is going to serve you guys so well as you grow older because it's it's only going to get tougher as the older you get. You know, but for you guys, you already have such an amazing foundation and have an understanding of obstacles and how it really builds your character. So that's great to hear. Thank you for that feedback. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, and I wanted to know from you guys just what are because this show is really about leadership and personal development and just doing more to stand out and being going beyond your title. So my next question for you all is, what have you learned about leadership so far by what you're doing?
Well, before you can lead, you have to follow.
Mm,
So you have to have that you have to have that inert drive, but at the same time, you have to see it to do it. it's kind of a monkey see, monkey do thing,
Yeah.
where when you see somebody make that impact, you have to want to do it, and you have to humble yourself just enough to go up to them and ask, okay, if I want to do what you do, how would I go about it
Yeah.
and do it in the most effective way possible? And after you've gone and learned how to lead, then you can build your own movement,
Hmm.
and eventually you can create other leaders.
That's good stuff, man. Y'all so mature. That's yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Leah.
um, Actually, my mentor, she always says, what you see, you do.
Yeah.
And she's about putting good stuff into your soul, putting good stuff into your brain. So what you put in is what you get out. And that's also what my mom says. Because, with the music and all the violence and everything that's happening in the community,
Yeah.
the people around me make sure I'm surrounded by positive things, positive role models, and places that I can go when I need help. And my mentor, she's vegan and she works in the school system. She's what I aspire to be when I grow older.
Hmm.
And her name is Miss Lakeisha Hallman, Dr.
Yeah.
Lakeisha Hallman, excuse me.
Yeah.
And she's one of my biggest role models. I look up to her, and she's always there for me. And she also, excuse me, um, she's just one of those people that has a good heart and comes from a good place.
Hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Well, the biggest thing that really stuck out to me as far as what you guys just said was just following first. And like
Mm-hmm.
Miles, you said something that was so major, just about humility, and it's having the ability to be coached and just to listen and not think you know it all. And so many people do not get that who are older and who are in their jobs and just like they take their title, and because they're in that position, they feel like they know it all. They can't listen to anybody and things like that. Instead of getting feedback, instead of understanding that, like you said, being a leader is about also being a follower as well, and asking questions when you don't understand things. And like you said, Aliyah, mentorship is huge. I mean, I don't. There's nobody that's self-made, so that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. Um,
Yep.
yeah. The next question I have for you all is, if you could leave one or two, maybe one or two pieces of advice for anyone who's thinking of going in your same path, what would that be?
You are never too young or old to give, no matter your circumstance. You just have to have a big heart to give.
Yeah, good stuff.
For me, it would have to be leave a legacy, and yeah, leave a legacy and do God's work. I mean, it's motives that I follow and ideals that I live by, so I would be a hypocrite not to promote them.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, it's what you leave behind is important.
Mhm.
Because if Martin Luther King did everything that he did, but died a bad man, I mean, who will want to follow him? So
Very true.
it all comes down to who you make yourself out to be and how much of an impact you make.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I haven't heard you guys say one thing about money or about achieving this or this award or accolade. So it really sounds like you guys really get it as far as what truly matters in life. Leaving a legacy, like you said, just doing great things with the gifts that you're given. And with that being said, I would love to know actually what you guys ultimately want to do. Like, where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
It's a very good question.
Right. It goes by fast, trust me.
It does. Oh, go ahead.
Well, of course, for me, I would still find a way to serve no
Yeah.
matter where I am. I mean, I have personal goals, but at the same time, I still want to find a way to push my whole movement of do God's work and give back. So whether I'm in college playing baseball or in the major leagues, one of those, I still want to find a way to use my earnings to eventually help expand myself and expand my expand my movement in a sense.
Gotcha. What about
And
you,
on
Aaliyah?
this side, my personal goals are to go to Georgia Tech after I get out of high school and
Not
major
Tech.
in chem.
You know I'm a dog, right? I gotta call you out on that. So.
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got the dog. I got the dog.
Nice.
And major in robotic engineering or chemistry.
Wow.
And as far as a touch of warmth, this may sound unrealistic, but spreading change and blankets throughout the world or as many places as possible. Because if you start a ripple of giving, you'll eventually create a wave.
So,
yeah.
That's good stuff, man. I'm so excited to see, when that does come and to see you guys 10 years from now doing influential things. And for Miles, you as an athlete, all I can say is, man, just understand that, baseball, everything it's gonna take you to amazing places. But for what I realized through my football career is that it's just a tool. Like it's just something to, give you a platform so that you can do, spread your movement at a bigger scale. Because the way I looked at it was, football gave me the opportunity to play in front of thousands of people, which you will have the opportunity to do. And it's like that's not ultimately who you are. That's just something that's temporary. And so you already have that understanding. I can see that it's just something that puts you in a position to spread your influence and give you a wider reach. So that definitely had to share that with you, and just for you, Aliyah, just using, you said, your exposure of going to Georgia Tech and getting that degree to further spread your movement. So that's awesome to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And the next question, and we're almost gonna wrap. We're almost done and gonna wrap it up. But the theme of the show, of course, is game changer, and I would like to know. This question is kind of deep, but what does being a game changer mean to you?
For me, honestly, it's changing your community. Because if we were to think of it like a sport, your community is the game. It's the impact that you're going to make that makes you the MVP. So you have to figure out a way to push what you do. And if we're going to talk sports, make as many plays as possible to make yourself seen, make yourself heard, make yourself known, and all in all, make an impact.
That's dope, man. Great answer.
And for example, if we were out walking downtown and we saw 10 homeless people, we would think to ourselves, or at least I would, if we're not the same person, male and female version of each other, we would think, dang, what could we do to help them? So it's just making change in the community, like Miles said, and changing the game, because there's so much going on in the outside world where you just have to learn how to step back and know your place in the community. So once you, like I said, start a ripple of giving, and it becomes a wave. So if you change one person's mindset on how to become a better person, a better giver, a better volunteer, or even do good in the community and give back, then they can spread that to more people, no matter the circumstance. So as long as you do your part, then other people will do theirs.
That's great stuff. I love what you guys said just about, understanding your gifts and your strengths and your weaknesses, and knowing where you stand within the community, and then also making plays, like you said, Miles. That was a great reference as far as with sports. It's understanding, that you can do your part, that you can make an impact. So that's great stuff. The next thing I want to know is, or I want you guys to let uh, the listeners know, is how can they get a hold of you and follow you and stay in contact and all those good things.
Uh, A Touch of Warmth social media is A Touch of Warmth on Facebook and Instagram. Our PayPal and email address are touchofwarmth1 at comcast.net. And our website is atouchofwarmth.org.
For me, our social media is Books for Miles on Facebook, and our email address is booksformiles@gmail.com. Our website is booksformiles.org.
And Miles of Warmth Instagram is Miles of Warmth.
All right.
And website.
And website too. All right. That's it?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And tell the listeners one more time when your event's going to be. I know it's a while away, but.
Earth Day, April 22nd of 2018.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll
Can't
definitely
wait
have
be
to.
there.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to have you guys back on again as it gets closer. But I just want to take this opportunity to tell you guys thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you guys nothing but continued success and just continue to do what you believe in. I'm so inspired by what you all are doing, and I think a lot of other young kids need to see and know that you all exist as well too, because that's a big part of leadership as well, and just what you're doing is just other kids seeing you and being inspired. So I just encourage you to keep moving forward. Even if you hear no a million times, just keep doing what you believe in. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have a good one.
You too.
You too.
Well, there you have it. A great interview by my two young guests, Aaliyah Rucker and Miles Jackson, who are both doing some amazing things in the community. And there were two things that I took away from their interview. The first thing being that you should never allow anything to hold you back from doing what's in your heart. As you heard from both of them, they were both very, very young when they took on the initiative of getting into the community and doing these amazing things. Aliyah with her blankets and Miles with his books. And they didn't wait and say, oh, I'm too young to do this, or I don't have this degree yet, or I don't have this level of income. So as I listened to them, I thought in my mind of so many people who I've come across who have amazing ideas, who want to do some great things. And it's always a long shot for them. It's always them saying, oh, one day I'm going to do this, or one day when I get this degree, I'm going to do this. So I say that to just ask you, what are you telling yourself today that's holding you back from living out what's in your heart and what really truly fulfills you? And if it's something that you know is not true, or something that you made up in your mind, or something that's a result of fear, I challenge you to remove that from your method of thinking, and just to really truly live what you are called to do, because there's nothing like it. It really isn't. The next thing that I took away from them is to just not make your vision or that thing that's in your heart bigger than what it really is. Just get to work. As you heard them say as well in their interview, they didn't have everything laid out for them. They didn't have a perfect set of circumstances. They just operated exactly right where they were. They just saw that there was a need, that there were kids, as Aliyah said, that didn't have blankets to sleep at night. So she just started small. She got a few blankets here, started delivering them, and then grew from there. And the same thing with Miles. So I think it's important for us to not just put our goals and the things that we want to accomplish on this big grand scale to where it almost seems like impossible for us to reach. I think like wherever you're at, whatever you can take advantage of that requires the smallest amount of investment, just take that chance, take that risk, and allow it to grow from there, and just plant that seed. Sometimes that's all you need to really get started and start to do some amazing things, whether it's in the community, whether it's on your job, or for that business idea that you have. It really doesn't matter. Just be comfortable with starting small. And the last thing I took away from their interview was the fact that when I asked them about who inspired them to get into what they're doing now, they both mentioned their parents. And I feel like for me personally, being a parent of a beautiful 8-year-old daughter, I think it's so important that we empower our children and to give them the right skills and the right values, especially in terms of being a servant. And you can clearly hear that their parents put them in a situation where they could understand that they had influence and that they could be leaders and have an impact on those around them, even in the smallest ways. And they were 3, 4 years old when they started. So that definitely shows that their parents' head was in the right place. And I think more so than anything we can do in terms of giving our children any type of finances or giving them material possessions, the biggest thing that we can instill in our kids is the values that we leave with them. And that's what's going to create that legacy. So, with that being said, thank you so much for listening to the show. It's been an honor just doing this week in and week out. And next week, once again, we'll be back. I'm going to have another great show for you. It's going to be another amazing guest. And I'm going to start just really going in deep, diving deep into different topics as well. So feel free to share with me through my website, through my social media, just what topics you would like to hear on Instagram at Rennie Curran, just my full name, RennieCurran. And that's my website as well. On Twitter, it's the same thing at Rennie Curran 53. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Game Changer Podcast.